Hi guys, in the last session, we completed our development related to REST client. We are able to develop Make My Trip service application. In the Make My Trip service application, we are able to access IRCTC API. Okay, so here our Make My Trip application using web client. By using web client, we are able to send GET request as well as POST request. And when we are sending the request, we are giving the accept header as well as content type also. We can send headers also in the request. Good. Now, for example, I want to develop a client with asynchronous communication. So in the previous classes, we already discussed what is synchronous communication and what is asynchronous communication. Asynchronous communication means after sending the request, I don't want to wait for the response. I want to continue my execution. So here we are developing the REST client in two ways. One is by using REST template and the second one is by using web client. Now here REST template is a synchronous client, whereas web client is supporting for both synchronous and asynchronous. So now I want to develop one simple project, new Spring starter project. Let me create this as 27 Spring REST async client. Asynchronous client I want to make. Async client application I want to develop. Click on next. Here I want to use a web dependency, Lombok dependency, DevTools dependency, and I want to go for WebFlux also. I want to go for WebFlux. If I want to use this WebFlux, then I need to add WebFlux dependency, that is reactive web. Okay, so I'm selecting DevTools, Lombok, web, and reactive web. Click on next and click on finish. Okay. Now in this project, I want to develop a client by using web client, but this time I want to go with the synchronous client as well as asynchronous client. Let me create one service method here. Let me create one service class, new class, make my trip service. Make my trip service. I'm creating one class. This class I'm calling as a service class. Inside this service class, I want to access IRCTC API. Already we have accessed previously IRCTC API. So the IRCTC API URLs are available. Those URLs I want to read from the properties file. Okay. Previously, we already configured the URLs in the properties file. Similarly, in this application also, I will configure IRCTC URLs in the properties file so that I can read them dynamically by using @value annotation. Okay. So in the previous project, in the resources, I have configured these properties. Let me take them. This is a new project, guys. In this new project, I'm adding those properties. In this, I'm adding those properties. Done. Now with this, close this project. Now I want to go with the asynchronous client, close unrelated projects. Now only this project is open. Service, make my trip service. Let me write one method, public, just public void get ticket info. Public void get ticket info. I'm taking integer ticket ID. Okay. Now I have the URL. IRCTC get ticket URL is available. Using this ticket URL, I want to get the ticket data with the ticket ID. For that, I will go for web client. So first here I'm saying system.out.println method execution start. Method execution start and system.out.println method execution end. My method execution started, my method execution ended. We can use logging also. Fine. Now let me create web client object. I have this reactive web dependency, web client dot create. This web client I need to use, and by using this web client, I want to create the object. Okay. web client client is equal to web client dot create, web client dot create, right? So why this is not getting created? Is there any dependency issue? Form.xml. Let me check my
Java.
yeah. So let me go for 2.7.6 version, something like this. Yes. Now let me go here and let me try to create the object for this web client dot. That option is not coming here.
Sir, update, build the project, sir.
Sir, JDK version.
JDK on bot age.
That could be another issue. Edit JDK 1.8. Close this. No. Web starter and webflux starter is also available. Okay. Why it is not coming? What is the version I used in the previous project? Form.xml 2.5.6. That's fine. Here also same version I have used 2.5.6. There in the service class, I'm able to create the web client object. Web client. So it's working here. Why not in this class? Project build path, configure build path. It is done. Java compiler 1.8. Like and close. Window preferences. Compiler is 1.8 only. Play and close. Let me delete and create once again, guys. There is some issue in the project creation, you see. File new, starter project, Java version 8, async client. Click on next, boot 2.7.0, web dependency, DevTools, Lombok, reactive web. Okay, click on next and click on finish. Yeah, async client project is created. First, let me take the properties, the URLs which I have configured previously. I want to add that in the new project. Right. Then I need to create one service class in the new project. That is my 27 project. In that class, I will develop the client logic. New class. So what is make my trip service? Okay. Now, or else I can do here, my make my trip service is available. I can take as it is and I can keep it here. Good. Now, in this project, I will delete all the code that I have. Okay, get ticket info. I will delete this logic. Get book ticket. I don't need this at all. Let me delete it. Here also, I'm taking the return type as void. Perfect. No need to return anything. Okay. Package name in dot Ashok IT. That's it. Yeah, fine. So with this, my project is ready. All the projects are closed. Only this project is ready. Now I want to create the web client object. Web client dot create. Web client dot create, and it is going to return a web client object. Now I want to make a request. Client dot get dot URI comma variables. So get ticket URL, the ticket ID, whatever I'm getting as a parameter, I'm doing this dot retrieve dot retrieve dot body to mono, and I'm specifying as a string dot class dot block. So what is the meaning of a block? I'm getting response. In which format I will get the response? Guys, last time I have used body to mono ticket dot class. This time I'm using body to mono string dot class. Okay. So whatever the response will come, I want to print that raw response which came from the REST API. Then I'm going to specify system.out.println method sync method ended. Okay. This is a synchronous method that I am calling. Synchronous method ended. Here I can say synchronous method started. Get ticket info in the sync approach. So here I'm making a request for the REST API and I'm using dot block. That means it will wait for the response. After printing the response, then only it will print sync method ended. Okay. Let me get this object from here and let me call this method context object context.getBean of my service. My service is make my trip service dot class. Let me store that into a variable bean dot get a ticket info sync 161. Now I'm trying to get the ticket. Here. The ticket ID I am passing as a string variable. So what this method will do, this method will go and execute this logic. What is the logic available? I'm creating a web client object and I'm making a get request by using web client object and I'm using dot block. Dot block means here unless we get the response, my thread should not continue. After getting the response should be printed. Then the method execution ended statement should be printed. Now let's verify how this application is going to execute. Right click, run as boot application. Right click, run as boot application. Project is getting started. Let's observe the output. How we are getting the output? Is that waiting for the response or without waiting for the response? Is it continue? We can verify. Okay. Now you see here, sync method ended. So directly we are getting some exception, right? So what is the reason for that exception? We need to specify what is our accept value. Okay, dot URI dot accept. Okay, what is the accept value? Media type dot application slash JSON. That is our media type. Okay, we are expecting the data in the JSON. In the body to mono, I'm giving string dot class. In the last time, I have given ticket dot class. So whatever the JSON we are getting, store that JSON into a variable directly. Now clear the console, run this application once again, run as boot application. Now observe the response that we are getting. Now can you see here sync method ended. Both times it is printing as ended. It is my typo. Sync method started here and sync method ended here. Now see the console. Guys, what happened? Sync method started, then it is saying that sync method ended. I got the response. In the body to mono, I'm giving string dot class. That means whatever the response is coming from the REST API, same response I want to store into a variable, string variable. If I want to store into the object, then I will specify ticket.class. Then this JSON data will be converted to ticket object at the client side. Guys, tell me, this is a synchronous client or this is a asynchronous client? In this scenario, whatever the client I have developed, is it working as a synchronous client or is it working as a asynchronous client? How can you say that it is a synchronous client here? How can you say that it is a synchronous client? I'm calling the block method. When I call the block method, it is waiting for the response. After getting the response, it will print the response. Then this statement will be executed. Okay. Now here, I want to develop asynchronous client. I want to develop asynchronous client. Let me create another method here for asynchronous client. Public void get ticket async in the async approach. So here I'm expecting string ticket ID. Let me create my web client object. Web client is equal to web client dot create. With this web client object, I want to make a get request. Sorry, web client object is created. Once that client is created, with that client we need to call the get method. Client dot get dot URI. What is the URL that you want to access? Get ticket URL with ticket ID as a parameter. Ticket ID as a parameter. Dot accept. Let me go for media type dot application underscore JSON dot body dot retrieve. Retrieve the response. Then dot body to mono. I want to store that response into a string variable directly. Then dot subscribe. So I'm calling subscribe method. So what is the meaning of a block? This is wait for a response. Block means wait for response. Here I'm calling subscribe method. In this subscribe method, what I will do? Public void handle response. What is the response? String response. Now I'm going to print it. System.out.println response. Whatever the response I'm getting, I'm printing that response. Okay. So now how I need to specify that? The subscriber is my handle response method. The subscriber is a handle response method. Are you guys clear? So whatever is giving by the subscriber, that response I want to give to my handle response method. So here I'm calling subscribe. Here I'm calling the block method. Here subscribe means once you send the request, you don't wait for the response. You just subscribe to this response. Whenever response comes from the REST API, then this method will be printed. Now here, let me write the logic. System.out.println async method execution started. Async method execution started. Now here I will say async method execution ended. Async method execution ended. Okay guys, am I waiting for the response or I'm not waiting for the response? I'm not waiting for the response. Whenever the response comes, then it will give the response by calling this method called handle response method. My handle response method will print the response on the console. Now go to our application, stop this method call, comment this method call, and go for get a ticket info async. Get ticket info. What is the method name? Get ticket async. Get ticket async. Pass the ticket ID. Now here I'm calling ticket async method. What my async method is doing? My async method execution is getting started. It is sending a get request to the client by using this URL, accepting the JSON data as a response, retrieving the data, body to mono. Body to mono is a string class. That means whatever the JSON comes from the REST API, I want to take that JSON directly. No need to convert to the Java object. then subscribe. Whenever you use .block method, that means you are waiting for the response. Whenever you use subscribe, that means you are not waiting for the response. So what is the meaning of the subscribe here? The subscribe is telling whenever the response comes, handle that response by using this method. This method will print the response on the console. Are you guys clear? Now, let me run this application and show me the proof. Application run as a boot application. Check the console. You can see that practically. Guys, what happened? My method is waiting here. I have given another typo. Async method execution started. Async method execution ended. Now, if you see my console, my method is waiting for the response or it is not waiting for the response. Response coming first or my method is ending first. Response printing first or my method is ending first. Method is ending first. That means it is waiting for the response or it is not waiting for the response. It is not waiting for the response. Now first see here. In this scenario, what happened is I'm using web client with the block method. So here when I call the block method, it will wait for the response. After response received from that, it will print the response on the console. Then it will print method ended. So that is a synchronous client. But in this scenario, after making a request, I'm calling subscribe. Then when I call the subscribe, that means it is notifying the handle response method when the response is received. So when the subscribe is called, it is not waiting for the response. Immediately this line is executed. After sending a request, immediately it is executing this line. Method execution started, method execution ended. After some time, when the response comes, then the response is printed by this method. So can I call it is working as asynchronous client? Second method working as asynchronous client. First method is working as a synchronous client and the second method is working as asynchronous client. Whenever response comes from the API, that will be handled by handle response method. It is like event-based execution. Send a request, don't wait for the response, continue. Whenever response comes, you notify that by handle response method. You notify the response to handle response method. Handle response method will take that response and it will print that response, whatever you want to do. If you want to insert in the database or whatever you want to do, that can be done by using this handle response method. Currently, I'm printing on the console. You can even store into database also. Now, I hope you got the clarity how to use web client for synchronous call and how to use web client for asynchronous call. If I use a REST template, can I achieve this asynchronous communication by using REST template? By using REST template, can I achieve this asynchronous communication, guys? No. REST template will support only for synchronous communication, whereas web client will support for both synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. Synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication.
Sir, is it possible to apply multi-threading?
Yeah, that you can do it. That's we can implement multi-threading also, but here I am just making block method and subscribe method. Okay. If you want to use multi-threading, that is a different story. If you have thousands of records that you want to process them, then instead of processing the records one by one, you can go for multi-threading to process those records.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And guys, and I want to show you one project that I am developing. I'm working on one e-commerce project. So I'm doing that in the local. So once that project is completed, then I will explain that project as a separate project batch, e-commerce project. If anybody interested to do that, we can go for that. Let me show you the project that I'm developing. Anybody working on e-commerce domain? Anybody working on e-commerce domain?
Yes.
You are working on e-commerce domain. Very good. Yeah, this is my application, guys. So first, let me run my backend application. I need the backend application to be up and running to do this. My backend application is REST API. The REST API developed by using Spring Data REST. So I will explain what is Spring Data REST also. Without writing single line of code, we can expose our REST API with the CRUD operations. So I will discuss those details also in our class. Okay. Fine. My backend application is ready. In this backend application, I'm not writing any REST controller. Just with the JPA repository, we can perform the CRUD operations. Okay, this is my backend project, run as boot application. This project is developed by using Spring Data REST. No need to create the REST controller, but we can expose the REST API without writing a REST controller. Currently in our project, we are creating the REST controllers and we are exposing the REST controllers. But if you go for the data REST concept, you no need to create the REST controllers. Okay, now, so port is already in use. Okay, let me run this again, refresh, run as boot application. My boot application is started. You guys see here, I have a product repository, but I don't have any REST controller, but still I can perform the REST operations. That is because of data REST. I will discuss what is data REST. So my backend application is started. Let me go and start my front-end application. My front-end application is built by using Angular. ng-open. It will run my Angular application and it will open in the browser also. Backend with Spring Boot REST API and front-end with Angular. A e-commerce project I'm trying to develop that will be completed in another 20 days. Application is getting started. Yeah, Angular application started. So this is my Angular e-commerce application. Yeah, like this. So books will be available, mugs will be available, mouse pads will be available, luggage pads will be available. If you click on search, so the dynamic filters will happen. And here I have given a pagination also. So this is bootstrap pagination I have given. And if you click on the page number, that particular records will come. And you can select the page size, how many records you want. If you go for 2, only 2 records will come. If you select 5, only 5 records will come. If you select 50, all the records will come which are available in the database. All 50 records will come. And here by default, my cart is empty. And if I click on add cart, that product will be added to the cart. Amount will be updated. If you add one more product, cart will become 2 and the total price is $35. If you add once again, it will be updated. Now I'm working on the checkout functionality. So as of now, I developed up to this, displaying the products along with the pagination. Page size you can select and category wise products will be displayed. You can add the products to the cart also. Now I'm going to implement payment gateway. Once this cart is added, you will be able to increase the count in the cart, decrease the count in the cart. Then you can go for checkout. Checkout form will be there. Payment gateway integration with PayPal integrations, security for the backend, storing the order details. That part I will implement in another 20 days. Okay. Once it is completed, I will show you that. Okay, anybody working on such kind of e-commerce project, guys? Anybody working on such kind of e-commerce project? No one? You can unmute your mic and you can speak out.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No.
Not at
Yes.
Is there any plan to develop a banking project, sir?
Yes, Ashok sir, we are implementing.
You are working on the e-commerce project. Okay.
Yes, sir. I am also.
You're also working on e-commerce. Okay. Which
Yeah.
company, sir? Which project it is?
Actually, I have joined new company, so I have assigned project for e-commerce domain.
E-commerce like this only?
Yeah, yeah.
You are getting which, what is front end for that?
Actually, Angular, but I joined as a backend developer only to develop
Okay,
this
front-
page.
Front end is Angular and back end REST APIs you are
Yeah.
developing. Okay, okay, good.
Mine is Wayfair.
Anybody interested to learn this e-commerce development?
Yes, sir. Interested.
Yes, sir. But there.
So are we going to cover this project in this 26 JRTP or no?
No, sir. No.
No,
So
I
this
thought
is
it
my
is part of that.
no. This is my personal project that I'm developing. Once it is completed, then we'll conduct a separate 45 days course only for the e-commerce project development along with Angular.
I was wondering if someone is interested, then you can assign some module to the person concerned and then get it done from his or her, whosoever is there.
Yeah, sure. I will try to do that. So I need another 20 days to complete. Then we will announce a separate batch only for the e-commerce development with the Angular. First, I will explain the Angular. Then we will start the developing the project. Every day, one task we will complete in the project.
Sir,
This
if
is
we
the plan.
don't know Angular, can we take up that course, sir? Or
No, in that course, we will discuss Angular only in that course.
Okay.
I will be eager to join you in this project in Hyderabad if you start this in another 20 days.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
First, I need to complete it on my own because this
I
is
will
first time.
definitely come down to Hyderabad to join you.
Yeah, sure, sir. Because this is the first time I am working on this Angular, in the e-commerce. So first I need to complete it on my own. Then I will take a batch for that.
Please.
Sir, is there any
I'll
plan
wait
to
for that
start
day.
banking project, sir?
No, sir. Banking project, it is very difficult to teach and it is difficult for the people to understand also. We can't do the justification for the banking project because a number of things will be available. Students may not be able to grab and time is not sufficient for that.
the domain itself is difficult, sir. Banking domain itself is a complicated domain.
It is a complicated domain. Even if I explain, people may not be able to understand.
Right, correct, sir. That interest calculations and so many things are there.
Sir, do you guys provide any mentorship
Regarding?
generally so some mentorship kind of thing, like whatever, maybe if there are some doubts, such kind of programs? Any? Actually, I'm looking.
Today,
Generally in sense I'm just looking for mentorship, maybe if I have some doubts regarding anything, maybe even in working such kind of thing.
Sure, definitely, sir. We will look into that.
I think I'm a new joiner, sir. I just joined a new company. There will be some doubts, right? So in that perspective,
we have a WhatsApp group for that already.
Could you share the link in the chat box, sir?
Yeah, we will add you to that, sir. So once you are, I think when the enrollment is completed, admin team will add you into the group. Send your details to the admin team. They will look into it. Why your number is not added there?
No, sir. Not for this one. I'm generally asking. I am in the WhatsApp group, but general, so just to grow in the career, there will be some such kind
Sure,
of.
Sure, sir. We will do that. We'll conduct the workshops on that. We can join for that.
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Sir, theoretical concept, please upload it in notes, sir.
Sure. I will include that. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, sir.
Sir, when we are using the web client, we need to other server apart from Tomcat, right, sir?
No need of that, sir. No need of that. So because Webflux, we are adding a dependency, but our application running in the embedded server only.
Okay. Somewhere I heard about it. Tomcat didn't provide support for reactive programming.
Today we have done that, na? Today our application is running in the Tomcat. We use a web client. We have done asynchronous programming. That is a reactive programming only.
Okay.
Today we have developed asynchronous client, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that means it is running on the Tomcat server only. Then how can we say that it is
Yes,
not
sir.
supporting?
Okay,
Sir,
sir. Okay.
can you please give me idea for regarding multi-threading concept, little bit idea how to?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Not completely, just how to develop.
Yeah. So we will be conducting 3 workshops on several times. We conducted on the multi-threading. So
Yes.
in future also we'll conduct that. Then you can join for that.
Thanks.
Okay. Fine.
Sir, one doubt regarding this client, sir, asynchronous client.
Yeah.
So in our project, we are having Angular and front end and back end as a Spring Boot, and we are having the WebSocket implementation.
Okay.
So what happens is sometimes we are not sure whether we are sending the proper response through channel or data through channel, whether they are receiving it correctly or not. To make use of this web client, can we use this web client to connect to another Spring Boot application, which will either receive or send a WebSocket message?
Yes, we can
use this
connect.
one?
We can connect. We can connect.
Or we can use this approach, right?
Yes, we can use it.
We can register through HTTP, and
Yes,
then we can go for the Stomp message, right?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. Guys, all of you, please practice this application client with a synchronous approach and asynchronous approach. So tomorrow I will explain how to develop a REST API by using data REST. Okay, as I told you in my e-commerce project, I'm using data REST. So tomorrow I will explain you what is data REST and how can we develop that data REST concept. Fine. Thank you guys. So with this, I'm stopping for today and we'll meet again in the tomorrow class. Okay. Before coming to tomorrow, I want all of you to complete our web client and all that stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
sir.
Good guys. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.